The Boston Pops are back with their spring lineup, and this season has a little something for everybody. From Leslie Odom Jr. of Hamilton jazz fame to multi-platinum pop artist Andy Grammer. Grammer will be the special guest at tomorrow's opening night performance. Leslie Odom Jr. will join the show in June. And for the entire season, the Pops will be celebrating an American music icon, Lawrence, Massachusetts native Leonard Bernstein, who would have turned 100 this year. Bernstein first attended the Pops with his father in 1932. I believe that was the year before Keith Lockhart took over as conductor, and he joins me now. Did I get my math right?
Just about. You haven't aged a bit either.
Thank you. Good to see you, Keith. Bernstein was a local kid. A lot of people don't know that. Tell us a little bit about the history of the Pops and the BSO with Bernstein.
Well, you're right. Lawrence, Massachusetts, 1918. His parents were Eastern European immigrants. They kept moving upward as Sam Bernstein got more and more successful. They moved to Roxbury. They moved to Newton. Eventually, they ended up in Newton. Leonard went to Boston Latin and then to Harvard, later taught at Brandeis. The first orchestra concert I ever went to was the Boston Pops.
And the first he conducted was the Boston Pops.
Also,
is that
a few years later, 1941. He had already graduated from Curtis. He was already a hotshot conductor, but nobody had ever let him in front of a professional band before.
I just saw in the green room that you had on the table a Bernstein biography. Are you learning anything that you didn't know about him before?
I'm revisiting. You know, it's the facts aren't there immediately, with total recall. So it's always good to look over these things so I can tell a little story along with the...
And what do we get in a Bernstein? I know there's a West Side Story night, which I'm sure everybody is drooling over. How are you approaching the anniversary there?
Well, it's tough because the genius of Leonard Bernstein is this kind of multi-talented, multifaceted thing that's really kind of hard to pull into a 2-hour Pops concert sort of format. What we're doing is focusing on the 4 big Broadway shows, On the Town, Wonderful Town, Candide, and West Side Story, and also other vignettes from his life. Some of the concert music he wrote, the ballet for Jerome Robbins, the film score on the Waterfront, the only film score he wrote, and trying to package it in something that shows a little of the arc of the career of this extraordinary man.
And I mentioned Andy Grammer is back July 4th last time, right?
Yes, he had such a good time. He said, well, when can I do this again? I said, how about opening night next year? So.
Well, speaking of doing it again, Leslie Odom Jr. is like taking up residency with the Pops. Is this 3 times with him?
This is 3 times. He was on the 4th as well, but we also had him last season, and so overwhelmingly successful, and we only had 1 publicly sold concert for that. So what we needed to do is allow more people the chance to see him, and he's a treasure. He's just amazing.
Have you seen Hamilton?
No.
No?
I can't afford those
ticket
prices.
Well, I know people, if you know.
I may wait till it comes to Boston.
There's another piece of, which is this fall, another piece of what you're doing is addressed to, I know what is an ongoing effort in your building, is attracting the next generation into the building. You guys, you and Andres Nelsons were at Franklin Park in this beautiful outdoor concert last summer, I think the first of its kind. What are you doing this season with the Pops to attempt to target that same audience?
Well, it's that. It's not only the next generation, it's also people whom we haven't attracted before. I mean, this really needs to be a community resource. It has to appeal to as wide as possible a potential audience, which is why we're going to Franklin Park again, having been there so successfully last year. Yeah, about 7,000 people last year, and we're committed to continuing to come back as often as we can.
But the Disney thing,
the Disney thing, yes, the first weekend, Saturday and Sunday, both matinees, because I think there'll be a lot of kids who do that. A wonderful show from Disney celebrating 20 years of Disney on Broadway. It has, for people of our generation, has Mary Poppins. It also has the Menken and Ashman things like Lion King and The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast. It's a gorgeous show. I was lucky enough to do the world premiere of it at Royal Albert Hall a couple of years ago with a different orchestra, and it's really fun to do it again. You know,
I was at the Pops last year, and I'm embarrassed to say I can't remember what the event was, but it was yet another horrible day for America. And you made, I have to say, a beautiful opening statement to the audience about the juxtaposition of the horror of that day, whatever it was, and the beauty of the music. When you put it, there are a lot of horrible days for America these days. Now, this is not an anti-Trump rant. It's just the shootings and all this sort of stuff.
The most bothersome thing is we can't think of which thing it was.
I know.
Yeah.
When you put together a season, are you conscious now that not only are people coming to see the Pops, but it's also a respite from really turbulent, challenging times?
I think the Times have put it even more into focus that this is more than just a light entertainment. This is a real community event. It is something that people come together for, and when people come together, they bring where they are with them, no matter whether that's good or bad. And if you have something happen, believe me, and over my career, I've had to address, the Newtown, Connecticut shootings, and I've had to address 9/11, and all those things had a concert immediately following them. What do? There's an elephant in the room that people can't just let go of, and I think it's a chance to do a little healing, but on top of that, to allow people to let go of that enough to enjoy what they're there for.
How hard is it to go on nights like that, or does that actually drive you onto the stage?
I think some part of me yearns for being able to help with that. I'm not a really good one-on-one caregiver. It's hard for me to say the things I should say, but I'm pretty good at caregiving for a couple thousand people at a time.
When's your next night off?
Sunday.
Oh, you actually do get off in a few days?
I do get off on Sunday night. Yeah, it's a Mother's Day night. My mom's going to be here. So
that's that's great. Before you leave, I often say when people ask me about my work, I say I have two of the best jobs in America. Do you feel that way about yours?
Every time with that, no matter what, you go, oh, wow, this seems like a lot of work, or oh, I'm really tired, or I don't want to interview that person, or whatever. But at the end of the day, who else gets to do what they would do if they didn't have to worry about making a living? I mean, we're so lucky.
You're lucky, and we're lucky to have you. Can't wait for the season. Keith Lockhart, thanks.
Thanks, Jim.
As always. Again, the Boston Pops spring season starts tomorrow, May 9th, and runs through June 16th. For more information on full schedule and tickets, just visit bostonpops.org.